Let's talk about something that's going to hurt a little, but you need to hear it. You've been lied to. For as long as you can remember, you've been fed this idea that what you're feeling is love, but it's not. It's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. Fear of not being loved back. Fear that without someone validating your existence, you're nothing. But be honest with yourself. If that person you depend on disappeared tomorrow, would you still feel whole? Or would you collapse, like a building that was only standing because someone else was holding it up? That tightness in your chest when they don't reply right away, the way your hands shake as you check their last scene, the sleepless nights filled with overthinking. That's not love. That's anxiety. That's emotional dependency in disguise. That's you clinging to an illusion, mistaking it for something deeper, something sacred. And here's the painful truth. You were never taught how to love without needing. Carl Jung said it best. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But the sad reality is, you're not transforming. You're disappearing. You're molding yourself into a version you think they'll accept, just so they don't leave. You're betraying your essence, your truth, your boundaries, because you believe deep down that without them, you're nothing. But what you're feeling, that's not love. That's addiction. You're hooked on a person the same way someone gets hooked on a drug, not because of them, but because of how they make you feel, because they distract you from a void inside you that you haven't had the courage to face on your own. That right there is attachment. It's the illusion that you need someone to survive. That whisper in your head that says, if they leave, I'll die. But here's what's real. You won't die. You'll face it. You'll rebuild. You'll transform. Because when you stop running from absence and start staring it straight in the eyes, it becomes your greatest teacher. Attachment is fear. Love is freedom. Attachment suffocates. Love expands. And until you learn the difference, you'll keep mistaking cages for hugs. You'll think that love means possession, holding, clinging, locking the other in. But real love, it doesn't need chains. It doesn't demand promises of forever. It doesn't live in fear of being lost. Jung understood this. He saw how human beings project their emptiness onto others, how we chase outside what we're missing inside. That's why attachment is so common, because we all carry wounds we're trying to seal with someone else's skin. We become emotional vampires, feeding on another's presence, draining them, just to avoid looking at our own emptiness. But there's a moment, a breaking point. When you finally hit bottom and realize that what you thought was love is actually the thing that's drowning you. And that's where detachment begins. Not as indifference, not as emotional shutdown, but as an act of self-love. Detaching doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop clinging. It means you stop fearing loss. It means you begin to understand that authentic love doesn't ask you to abandon yourself to keep it alive. Real love wants you to be more of who you are, not less. It wants you to grow, not shrink. It wants you to fly, not stay trapped. Detachment is a quiet revolution. It's standing in front of your fear and saying, you don't control me anymore. It's staring into the void without shaking. It's realizing that you don't need anyone to make you feel complete, because you already are, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Yes, it's going to hurt. Letting go always does. It's like tearing a piece of your soul apart, because you've convinced yourself that they were a part of you. You forgot how to walk alone. You forgot that you could. But when you finally do, when you truly free yourself, it all changes. Not because the world suddenly transforms, but because you do. You stop seeing life from a place of lack and start living from a place of wholeness. Letting go isn't about shutting down. It's about opening your heart, but without fear. It's saying, I love you, but I don't need you to be happy. And as paradoxical as it sounds, that is the deepest form of love, because now you're loving without conditions, without pressure, without manipulation. You're loving simply because you choose to. Jung talked about individuation, a process of discovering who you truly are, where you stop being half of someone else and become whole in yourself. And only then can you relate without losing your center. Only then can you love without attaching. Only then can you share from your overflow, not from your hunger. But make no mistake, this path requires courage, because attachment, even when it hurts, is familiar. It feels safe, comfortable, predictable. Detachment, on the other hand, throws you into the unknown. It makes you face yourself in silence. It makes you sit with your shadows. And that's why most people stay in broken relationships, because the pain they know is less scary than the freedom they don't. But if you have the courage to leap, what waits on the other side is peace. A peace that no one can take from you. A peace that doesn't vanish when someone leaves. A peace that comes from knowing who you are and what you deserve. And once you taste that, once you truly come home to yourself, everything changes. You stop begging for love. You stop settling for crumbs. You stop chasing those who were never meant to stay, because now you have you. And that is the most powerful thing in the world. Detachment isn't coldness. It's emotional maturity. It's awareness. It's understanding that everything that enters your life can also leave, and you'll still be okay. Because real security doesn't come from someone else. It comes from you. And when you have that, when you live from that place of groundedness, you can love without fear. You can open up without losing yourself. You can share without the need to possess or control, because you're not looking for someone to complete you. You're choosing to share your completeness. That might sound beautiful, but it's also brutal, because it forces you to stop calling your need love. It forces you to admit that your suffering isn't caused by the other person. It's caused by the story you've been telling yourself. And that's where real change begins. So ask yourself, what if emotional attachment is not only distorting how you love, but also distorting who you are? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. When you attach yourself too deeply to someone, you start to reshape yourself into what you think they want. You edit your personality, you dull your edges, you hide parts of yourself thinking, if I show them the real me, they'll leave. And here's what's even more tragic. Many times they never even asked you to do that. You just did it. Out of fear, out of the subconscious belief that if you don't adapt, you'll be abandoned. And here we arrive at something deeply Jungian, the shadow, that hidden part of you, the one you've buried, ignored, denied. When you live in attachment, your shadow starts to run your relationships. You put on a mask. You perform. You show only the pieces you think they'll accept. You hide your real needs, your real fears, your real desires. And while that may keep someone around, it also kills something inside of you. Because emotional dependency doesn't just tie you to another person, it severs you from yourself. You forget your limits. You stop listening to your intuition. Your entire emotional state starts revolving around how they feel. If they're happy, you're happy. If they pull away, you fall apart. You're no longer a person. You're a reflection of someone else's emotions. And when that happens, you start to empty out. Chronic anxiety sets in, disguised as passion. You walk on eggshells. You second guess every word, every silence, every look. Why? Because your inner world no longer belongs to you. You've outsourced your peace to someone else, and that is dangerously unsustainable. This is where we enter the territory of relational neurosis. It's a real thing, though not many talk about it. It's when your romantic relationships become loops of repeated suffering, where the same pattern plays out over and over again, just with different people. You sacrifice, you cling, you suffer. You call it love, but what it really is fear. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So you keep attracting the same dynamic, the same story. Different names, different faces, but the same ending. You think you're loving someone, but really you're reenacting a wound. And it gets even darker, because attachment often comes with idealization. You don't see the person for who they really are. You see them as who you hope they could be. You put them on a pedestal. You create a fantasy. And the higher you raise them, the smaller you become. And that breaks everything. Because real love can't exist without equality. When you shrink yourself, when you minimize your needs, when you become invisible just to be chosen, that's not love. That's servitude. That's self-erasure. So what's the way out? You have to go inward, into the dark places, the uncomfortable spaces. That quiet room where your unmet needs and your misunderstood loneliness live. Because if you can't be with yourself, truly, peacefully, you'll keep looking for someone else to do it for you. And when they don't, you'll punish them, not consciously, but you'll become demanding, controlling, insecure, not because you're toxic, but because you're terrified. You're using love as a painkiller when what you really need is healing. Jung talked about integrating the anima and animus, the feminine and masculine energies we all carry. When we don't integrate them, we search outside for what we lack inside. That's what drives attachment. But when you do the inner work, when you reconnect with both energies, you finally see that you're already whole, and that changes everything. You stop needing, you start choosing, you stop reacting, you start responding. Love transforms. It stops being a craving and becomes a gift. You no longer ask someone to save you, you simply ask them to walk with you. But getting to that place is not easy. It's a desert, the desert of detachment. It's dry, lonely, full of mirrors. You have to sit with yourself. No distractions, no saviors, no crutches. You have to look at your life and say, this is not love. This is fear of being alone. And that hurts, but it's the beginning of your freedom. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. You can't keep calling it love when it's not. You can't keep settling. You can't keep sacrificing your peace for the comfort of company. You've awakened. And yes, that means you'll lose people, but you'll find yourself. That's when detachment becomes sacred. It's not indifference. It's deep, conscious love. Not for someone else, but for yourself. It's saying, I love you, but I won't abandon myself for you. It's walking away, not because you don't care, but because you care enough to stop betraying your soul. And something incredible happens when you finally get there. Your energy changes. You stop attracting relationships that drain you. You start drawing in people who empower you, people who don't need to possess you, but who choose to walk beside you. Because now, you're not vibrating from lack. You're radiating from wholeness. And yes, some people will leave. Not everyone can handle your freedom. Some people only know how to exist when they're needed. And when they see you breathing on your own, they feel irrelevant. But that's not your burden to carry. Your responsibility is to you. Because this isn't just about love. This is about transformation. It's about finally becoming who you were before the world taught you to beg for affection. It's about becoming love, not just receiving it. It's about learning to hold yourself through the quiet, through the longing, through the nights when your mind tries to drag you back to the familiar pain. And every time you choose your peace over a connection that breaks you, you're rewriting your story. That is your power. That is your freedom. That is love. If you truly want to love, deeply, freely, consciously, then stop looking to be completed. Start completing yourself. Because real love doesn't chain you. It doesn't trap you. It gives you wings. Wings to fly together or apart, but always in peace. Most people don't love. They cling. They grasp onto others to avoid facing themselves. They mistake possession for intimacy, chaos for passion, drama for depth. But there's a different path. It's harder, yes, but it's real. It's the path of conscious detachment, the path of emotional freedom, the path of learning to love from abundance, not from emptiness. So ask yourself right now, why does letting go hurt so much? What part of you do you believe will die if that person leaves? What void are you trying to fill? Because right there, in that pain, is the root of your attachment. And no, the answer isn't to cut them off in anger. It's not about bitterness. It's about compassion, about looking at yourself with honesty and asking, why don't I feel enough without them? You're not trying to get rid of love. You're trying to heal the wound that mistook need for love in the first place. Remember, love is not possession. Love is presence. It's a voluntary dance between two people, not a chain that locks them together. If you need to control, chase, or hold someone hostage emotionally, that's not love. That's fear. And fear doesn't build relationships. It destroys them. So let go. Let go with dignity. Let go with grace. Let go knowing that choosing yourself is not selfish. It's necessary. Because the moment you truly choose yourself, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop begging. You stop holding on to people who can't hold space for your growth. You rise. And here's something that might shake you. Detachment is not emotional coldness. It's emotional maturity. It's knowing that everything you rely on externally can disappear, and you will still stand. Because true safety, true peace, true love, it lives in you. And from that place of security, you can love with an open heart. Not because you need to, but because you choose to. That's a powerful shift. And yes, it's a hard journey. Because until now, you've called your craving love. You've mistaken suffering for intensity. You've built your identity around being chosen. But it's time to wake up. To stare attachment in the face and say, I no longer need you. That is the beginning of real love. A love that doesn't bind. A love that doesn't demand sacrifices that erase your essence. A love that walks beside you, not over you. A love that starts with you. Because if you're not okay with being alone, you'll never be okay in a relationship. And now ask yourself this. What if emotional attachment doesn't start in this relationship, but way before? What if the person you're clinging to now isn't the problem? What if the root is in your past? Because the real wound didn't begin with them. It began with you, in childhood. That first moment when, maybe without meaning to, someone taught you that love was conditional. Be quiet, be perfect, be helpful, don't cry, don't be angry, don't be too much. From then on, you believed love had to be earned, that it wasn't given freely, that you had to adapt, shrink, behave, disappear to be loved. And that little child, they never left. They're still inside you, still scared, still trying to prove they're enough. Jung called this the wounded inner child. And no, it's not just a poetic idea. It's real. It's psychological. If you don't acknowledge that child, they will run the show. They'll cling, sabotage, settle. They'll tolerate the intolerable just to avoid feeling abandoned again. And here's what happens when you don't heal. You fall in love with potential, not reality. Not who someone is, but who they could be if they changed. You live in a fantasy. You project a future where they finally get it, finally treat you right, finally become the person you hoped for. But while you wait for that fantasy to materialize, you lose years of your real life. That's the cruelest part of attachment. It robs you of the present in exchange for a future that never comes. But there's another, even more brutal face of attachment. You become addicted to drama. Yes, addicted. Some people feel empty without chaos because they've spent their lives on emotional roller coasters. So when love is calm, they think it's boring. When someone loves them peacefully, they feel nothing. They crave adrenaline, not connection. And that's dangerous because it keeps you locked in cycles of arguing, jealousy, breakups, makeups, thinking that's what real love feels like. But that's not love. That's just emotional addiction. Have you noticed how sometimes you push away the people who treat you well? The ones who love you without expecting anything in return? Why? Because your nervous system is used to pain. Because you've equated love with suffering. Because receiving without paying a price feels wrong. But that too is attachment. So how do you break free? Step 1, awareness. Stop romanticizing your pain. Stop calling jealousy love. Stop pretending suffering validates the relationship. Love shouldn't cost you your peace. Step 2, stop looking outward. Stop waiting for the other person to change. Stop begging them to finally value you. Start looking inward. Ask yourself, why don't I value myself? And then comes something powerful, self-affirmation. Being able to say, this is who I am. This is what I feel. This is what I need. This is what I will no longer tolerate, and meaning it, even if it costs you the relationship. Because losing someone who can't love the real you is not a loss. It's liberation. But here's a question that might flip everything. What if love isn't a destination, but a consequence? What if, instead of looking for a partner, you started looking for alignment with yourself? Because when you are aligned, truly connected to your values, your truth, your worth. Nothing outside of you can shake that. The love that comes then is just a bonus. And if it ends, you'll feel it, you'll grieve. But you won't shatter because you are whole. Already, Jung called this the self, your deepest core, the you beneath the noise, the you that isn't affected by who stays or who leaves. When you live from there, you don't need constant validation. You become your own anchor. And every relationship you create from that place is cleaner, clearer, realer. But yes, the road is hard. You'll cry. You'll want to go back. You'll miss people who weren't good for you. But every time you choose your peace over the pattern, you're healing. You're rewriting your story. And the most beautiful, heartbreaking truth? Not everyone you love will be able to love you back. You'll have to look into someone's eyes and say, I love you, but this doesn't work. Not like this. Not because you've stopped loving, but because you've started loving yourself more. That's detachment. That's not giving up. That's not bitterness. That's honoring yourself. And once you reach that point, once you realize that your greatest love story is with you, everything transforms because you're not chasing love anymore. You're becoming it. And now that we've traveled through all this together, I want to leave you with a final truth. It might hurt, but it's necessary. The love of your life is not a person. It's your growth, your evolution, your consciousness, you. So write this in the comments. If you felt any of this hit your soul, I choose my peace over fear. Write it for you as a reminder, a commitment, a declaration, and subscribe if you haven't already, because this channel isn't here to entertain you. It's here to wake you up. If you're ready for more, stay, because once you've seen the truth, there's no going back. We don't meet in the next video. We meet where it matters most, inside you.